We love it. We love Baldy. He joins us every single Tuesday at 7:30 in the morning. Maybe we'll get a Warriors take from him because the Warriors do start the season tonight against the Phoenix Suns. But we are reacting to last night's loss, the second straight loss for the 49ers at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins, 35-45, 378. How about Jordan Addison? How about T.J. Hawkinson? How about Kirk Cousins on third down, 9-12 for 183 and 8 first downs? Baldy, I'm going to start here. We'll get to Brock Purdy and the offense in a second here, but defensively just not good enough. Let's start with the play before the half. All-out blitz, six-man blitz, no timeouts for Minnesota. I've never seen a worse call by a defensive coordinator before the half. And then Charvarius Ward, the awareness to say, hey, let me just make the tackle, maybe not go for the pick. I don't know. That was just a big-time blunder that flipped that football game last night.
I totally agree. I don't, first of all, the 49ers are not a blitz team. I mean, you can count the number of 6 or 7-man pressures on one hand in, so far this season. It made no sense. No timeout, 16 seconds. Like, just say, any play that's, whether it's run or pass, that's tackled inbounds, the half is going to end. So the idea that you're going to leave your corner, who's a good corner, but leave anybody out there hanging with no free safety. I mean, if you just get them down, the half is over. Right. I get that part. But I understand, the competitive part, too, to Charvarius. I just didn't understand the call. It made, even if you get to Kirk Cousins, which they couldn't do, but even if you get to him, it's not going to make a difference.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to do anything if you even get the ball.
Right.
I just didn't – the call just didn't make any sense. And it really bit him.
Yep.
Because, Addison is a great player. And, he had a ball wrestled from him on the third or fourth play of the game and by Charvarius, and, he got him back. And picks, what they are, and that's what he did to him.
Yeah, Addison kicked their butt last night, I thought he was excellent, him and Powell. What's going on with this defensive line? Baldy, that's where you have been all over how great Javon Hargrave was as an acquisition, how great Nick Bosa was the last couple of years. You got him, Bosa, Hargrave, and then Armstead I'd throw in there, making big bucks, 40% of the cap.
No.
And I'm seeing very little impact. Was that Kirk Cousins pre-snap, audibly, and post-snap making plays happen? Was that a lack of pressure? Why are they not getting home?
It's a good question, Joe, because they got dominated up front. I mean, Darrisaw, O'Neal, Dalton Reiser's been there for, a fortnight right now. They handled him. I've seen very little from Hargrave. Nick Bosa right now is strictly a power rusher, and his power moves are not winning quickly in the pass game. I mean, for Kirk Cousins to drop back 45 times, not get taken down once. Now, he's got some, he's got a little bit of just moxie to him about how to maneuver in the pocket. He's pretty good like that, but not to take him down one time. Right. I can't imagine a worse flight home for the 49ers defensive line. However long that is from Minneapolis, to go home and not get Kirk Cousins to the ground one time. It's almost impossible to think about.
Unacceptable. That's what it is, Baldy. It's unacceptable.
Is it scheme?
I agree.
Is it scheme or is it individual players not playing well?
You got to win your one-on-one. This whole business, Joe.
Yeah, that's what
you got to win your one-on-ones.
Right.
Period. You can help with twist stunts and 5-man pressures and some of these things that are all everybody has, but ultimately, Nick Bosa has to beat Christian Darrisaw. Yeah. He knows he's going to get chipped, with O'Neal over there, but he's used. Every good pass rusher sees chips. That's it's no big. There's no excuse. But you saw very little, if nothing, from Armstead, nothing from Hargrave inside, no power rushes. I've seen. What surprises me is I really thought that we were going to see a little bit of Bosa and Hargrave the way we used to see him with DeForest Buckner. Like these twist stunts and two-man games.
Right.
And we haven't seen any of that, really, so far this season.
Well, hopefully we see it against Cincinnati because they're waiting off a bye week and they're trying to get rolling there. I'm sure Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were licking their chops. We'll get back to the defense in just a second, but that's a good point, Baldy, about the defensive line here. Offensively, they just got no push in the run game. And that's been the most disappointing aspect of the last 2 weeks. I get it. Cleveland's got one of the best defenses. Myles Garrett, Jim Schwartz and company, they're getting after it. But last night against the Vikings, and I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is 100%. I don't know if they could have used Mason. They're just not getting any push up front. And I guess that goes to both sides of the line of scrimmage. They've been dominated in the trenches. And so when we got the long view of the team being the best in the NFC, hey, I don't see it because of the trenches, Baldy, and the offensive line is not helping the case here.
Well, I play without Trent. You got the best in the world out there. He's not out. And then the Vikings, to Brian Flores' credit, played him with the 5-man defensive line. And sometimes it was even 6 when they put a linebacker up on the line of scrimmage. And they just challenged the 49ers, to knock them off the ball. They didn't. They're not a big knock them off the ball team to begin with. They're more of a stretch zone team. And it's up to, but they their safeties, Bynum and Harrison Smith are really good in run support. And, they won the line of scrimmage, fair and square. And so, ultimately, though, in this game, because of the way you mentioned it, Joe, especially, or Bonte, whoever did, they were so good on third downs
right,
that it limited the 49ers to 8 possessions in the game. And they turned it over on 3 of them. And then they got stopped on a 4th down. So, half their possessions were basically turnovers. So now you're saying, okay, how are you going to put up a 30 spot if you're, half the possessions, you're turning it over?
All right, let's get to the quarterback.
Get your mic off, show. Get your mic on.
Oh, my God, I'm sorry. Let's get to this quarterback here, Brock Purdy. I thought he was making plays, because he was under duress a lot in the first couple of quarters. And then the final 2 drives, when you have to have a drive and you have to drop back to throw the ball down the field, this offense struggles, and that's kind of been a theme the last 5 years under Shanahan. What did you see on both of these interceptions? The one to Jennings, I don't know, did he get knocked? Was it just a poor throw, bad anticipation, a combination of all of them? And then the final interception, I don't even know what he was doing.
Yeah. He was 11 of 13 in the first half. He was almost flawless, but they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They turned it over. But the throw to Jennings, I don't know. I looked at that thing for 20 minutes this morning. I don't know. It looks like it's a timing throw. They love their in cuts.
Yes.
All right. I mean, I talked to Jim Schwartz on Sunday about the 49ers offense and how, this is what they live on. They live on these in cuts across the middle of the field, and, you throw it on timing and you hit them on the dead run. They get a lot of yards after the catch. We've seen it all year. Ayuk's the champion of it. But the throw, I just don't understand what Jennings was doing. It's his own defense, and he's kind of trying to throw a head fake at the top of his route. It's his zone. They're just sitting in zone. And really, it looks like Purdy's predetermined. He's throwing it to a spot. And Jennings doesn't get there, and Bynum's just sitting there waiting on it. So it looks worse than it is. But it's certainly the timing between the quarterback and the receiver. And look, a lot of this offense is timing. Some people don't like that because if the receiver doesn't get there, the quarterback looks bad. I'm not blaming it on the receiver completely, but that looks like just a bizarre throw to me. Thinking that the receiver's got to get to that spot. If he gets to the spot, he's going to beat the safety to the ball, but he doesn't get there. And then the last one, I don't know, he steps up in a pocket and he kind of wings it. And, it's just not a good throw. It's just a careless throw. The 2 he missed in the first half, he just sailed the throw.
Right.
And so when he did miss, he missed high last night, including, the final interception. But you got 2 shots to go down the field to win the game.
Right.
I mean, quarterback, no quarterback, whatever. You got 2 shots to go win the game. Defense did their job, got the ball back to him in good field position, and they couldn't do anything with it.
No, we're talking to Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. I wonder, maybe you saw this on the film, but Brandon Ayuk got off to a hot start. 5 targets in the first half, 5 catches, 57 yards. He got 1 target in the second half. And we had the same conversation about George Kittle. One game, he's got 2 targets like last week in Cleveland. Then all of a sudden, they're featuring him. Was there anything the Vikings did in the second half to take away Brandon Ayuk? Why did he only receive 1 target in that second half?
I think you should have gotten more, to be honest with you, because the way that they were playing, especially on first downs, especially the way they're playing the run. I mean, they were basically selling out to play the run, and they did that, and they were good at it. And they're a big blitz zero team. You're going to get some one-on-ones out there, and I like my chances of Brandon Ayuk against, whether it's
Murphy
Murphy or whoever, Evans, whoever's on the other side. I mean, I like my chances against him. You got to give him a little bit of time. And, they chose not to do that. They went to Jennings. They went to, at the very end they went to McLeod. I mean, it just seemed a little bit unusual that you wouldn't feature your best receiver.
I see all these teams across the league. Kelsey getting 12 catches. A.J. Brown putting on the show Sunday Night Football. These other teams, these elite teams, Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen knows where everybody in the building's covering Diggs. Everybody knows that Josh Allen loves number 14, Stephon Diggs. Yet you see him get these targets. It always seems like that's a problem with the Shanahan offense where premium players like Kittle and Ayuk, we just forget about them. It's very strange to me, Baldy.
Well, especially with Debo out. You know, I mean, you kind of got to lean on your number one. I mean, that's what Ayuk is. He's a number one wide receiver. You lean on him, and you call plays for him, and you clear out for him. I mean, there's all kinds of different things you can do, especially against the Flores defense that's so blitz happy. I mean, the ball sometimes got to come out fast, but there's ways to counter that. And so obviously the screen to McCaffrey for a touchdown. They caught him. He caught him shorthanded. He had one guy to beat, and he walked into the end zone. But when you're going up against that defense, and that's what Flores does. When he was in Miami, the Dolphins started 1-7 2 years ago, and he went to that style of defense, got him back into the whole race. I mean, they won like 7 in a row that year, got back into the playoff race, and so he's doing the same thing right now. And I thought they were pretty good at kind of defeating it and getting them out of it, but not good enough.
Yeah, it felt like the offensive line, even when they were rushing 3 and 4 guys, couldn't hold up. Hunter went right through McKivitz on a number of occasions. To me, my biggest issue right now, and I guess it's just a question of Shanahan, the team as a whole, the quarterback, it's the procedural things. We're seeing delay of game penalties, burning timeouts. The first drive coming out of halftime, first drive, you blow a timeout that comes back to bite you at the end of the game in terms of being able to stop the clock, whether it's offensively or defensively. Pre-snap penalties, false starts, not lining up, the right guy or chip blocking. Where do you account the frustration? Does that go right to the head coach? Is this individual players? They don't feel buttoned up right now offensively.
Well, I mean, look, they had 5 penalties all night. I mean, you can live with that, but you can't live with what you just said, coming out of a timeout and having to burn a timeout. That no coach wants that on their resume, period. So there is some level of confusion, and I can't speak to it. Debo's not out there, so what tight ends are in, what wide receivers are in, all that kind of stuff. But that's just procedural stuff. That shouldn't be a problem. My problem right now, honestly, is, they've you're on the road. It's going to be more difficult. It's going to be hard to hear.
Absolutely.
You're going to, it's just going to. That place is very, very loud. They play the decibel meter game inside that stadium, and the fans know what to do. And they got their skull chants. That it's not easy. But they've had a chance to win the game 2 weeks in a row with the ball in their hands. You can't really ask a lot more than to go down there and go win the game. I mean, you want to be a prized offense. I saw the Patriots go down the field and beat the Buffalo Bills in the last 2 minutes. You want to be a prized offense. You get the ball, and you go down, and you score, and you win the game. And they didn't do it. And that's ultimately, when you're on the road, these games are going to come down to the fourth quarter. It's just going to be more difficult to operate.
But I didn't mean to cut you off, Baldy, but how much of that is on Brock Purdy? Because the quarterback's going to be a big topic around here. You know this. It's been that way for a long time. We're watching Kirk Cousins, who, Shanahan opines across the way, and he's slicing us up, and we're watching our guy, and everybody's talking about Sam Darnold and Purdy. And so how much of that is on Purdy himself?
Look, that last interception, the last 2 interceptions always fall on the quarterback. Yeah. And as flawless as he has been for much of the season, he's starting to come back to earth a little bit here. You saw the Viking receivers last night make one ridiculous catch after another.
Yep.
And your receivers got to help you out. And so it's not all on Brock, but you got those guys have to make sensational plays. They just did. Osborne did last night. The whole group did, to be honest with you. Addison was phenomenal. And so That's what you expect from your receivers, but the quarterback's got to give them a chance to go do it. And, you just don't see the deep shots right now.
Yeah.
The big chunk type plays. Obviously, McCaffrey's touchdown on the screen was exceptional, but you really didn't see a lot of big chunk type plays. That's kind of what's missing from this offense right now.
No doubt about that, Baldy. We watched the league, and I put the Niners in this division of Super Bowl contenders. Philly, Miami, Kansas City, maybe Buffalo. Jacksonville has something to say. Detroit got humble, but Baltimore's coming. But we look at the NFC, and the NFC runs through Philadelphia, and I've always believed this when both teams were undefeated. How wide is the gap between the Eagles and the Niners right now today?
I think the Eagles are better in the trenches than the 49ers are. I think they've got better pass rushers. I think up front, the offensive line is better for the Eagles. Obviously, nobody can stop the tush push. They're going for it on fourth downs at their own 20-yard line in a big game against Miami, and with full confidence that they can convert. They just made a trade for one of the great safeties in the league yesterday, and Kevin Byard. They're loading up.
They are.
They're loading up. They're like, okay, you know what? We've had a lot of injuries at safety. We lost some safeties in free agency. Like, let's go get ourselves the best available free safety in football. And Kevin Byard is a Philadelphia kid, and he's coming back home.
Baldy.
He's never missed a start. Since he started in Tennessee, he's never missed a start. Lines up and plays every single game, almost every single play of every game. Like, they just got better yesterday. And so, they picked up Julio. I don't know what Julio has left, but they're telling everybody in Philadelphia and everybody in the locker room, we're here to play in February.
Yep.
We're here to win in January and play in February. That's the message. Now, whether they do it or not, I don't know. But that's what they're telling everybody in that locker room. And so I think they're heads and shoulders above everybody in the NFC right now.
I totally agree with you, Baldy. Where are you going to be at next weekend?
I'm going to be in Seattle to go see Cleveland and Seattle play.
Oh, that's a big-time game. And Seattle's creeping up on the Niners. The Niners don't wake up here with Cincinnati on deck and Jacksonville coming up. This could be problematic in the NFC West, let alone the NFC. So, Cincinnati, have they got their act right? Where's Burrow at? Where's this offense at? Because last time I watched them, they got after Geno Smith in the red zone over and over and over with Hendrickson and Hubbard. What Cincinnati team is coming to Levi Stadium this Sunday, Baldy?
They're rolling. They're rolling right now. Joe Burrow is back. The calf is not a problem. I've seen him doing some things that, you're used to seeing Joe Burrow do now. And, Jamar Chase came out and said 3 weeks ago, I'm open. I'm always bleeping open. And right now he's ripping the league up.
Wow.
And so they got their hands full because they played the last couple of weeks without Tyler Boyd or without their full complement of players.
Yeah.
And so they're all back now. And defensively, they're a strong defense. You got to play your best football. It's a good team, really good team. And so it's a great test. Look, when you lose 2 in a row, I don't care who it's against in this league. I don't care where it's against. The sky's falling. Nobody feels good. Everybody is on eggshells. And that's not a bad thing. You're going to come up, like you're down on the mat right now. Are you coming off the mat? And the best thing you do is play a good team.
Yeah.
The best thing you could do when you lose 2 in a row is play a good team. Because if you beat them, you feel good about yourself. If it was, I don't know, it was the Carolina Panthers come to town, you beat them, nobody would raise an eyebrow. You're expected to do it. They got to go beat a good team right now to feel good about themselves.
No doubt about that, Baldy. You're the best. Have fun in Seattle. That should be a barn burner. The Browns and the Seahawks up in Seattle. That's a good game. The NFL, Baldy, you said it the first time you joined us this season. In August, you said this season in the NFL would be a wild ride, one of the wildest rides we've ever been on. And so far, it's lived up to that, Baldy. It's been wild. It's incredible. The NFL is king, man, for a reason. We see why. Baldy, we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Baldy.
Have fun in Seattle, man.
You got it, Joe. Take care, Bonte.
All right, Baldy.
Talk to you next week.
All right, Baldy. Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game.